किधर में था भाई ओए बुटा बुटा किधर में था भाई ओए ओए पढ़ाई में मैं को हाल वाल हंडो वे लई आई वाकई तू वो खेले कम में नहीं है तू जितना मेरे को सहा नहीं देता तू सुना यार वीडियो थोड़ी बनानी है इलाके दी
इलाके दी बना साड़ी ना बना मैं यार तमाम डर वैसे सन देख के
इतना मीठा नहीं देते बैठ ले
अच्छा
ना
तो गुजारा है
ये हो रहा है यार
रात आना यार गप को ब्लेसू
अच्छा
कुटे को फिससू आराम की तो पड़ा है
हाय कर ले
आजकल हसनैन कितने दिया
हसनैन लाहौर
लाहौर
सारी छुट्टी है खैर ना
अच्छा
एक बार मुश्किल है
अच्छा अच्छा ना मुझे लगे शायद बुलावे यार
क्या शादी
अपने व्लॉग बनाने शौक करते हो
ओए आधा ही में पहना जे ऐसा तो बोल सकने जरी हो गया ना
वाले बंद कर रहा है या नहीं कर रहा है मैं कोई नहीं पता। ये कौन है बटेरा? तेरा ये किस वास्ते है? सेकंड काम
मैं एक बूढ़ा मेरा यार है, आज लोग मिला
अच्छा
फोटो देख
लिया
और सुना
टाइट बत्ती
अल्लाह का शुक्र होगा एक ही में आधा पे होगा एक ही में होगा मैं किवें जुड़ा यार आता ये नहीं
नहीं ताप में बाल फूट रहे
मान में अल्लाह
या मेरा बेटड़ू आए
दाई दा का दे उन्हें तो दा का दे
या टाइट बत्ती ये कोई नवी ताजी
वही ताजी है जल्दी का
ये मैं
said that Gutfeld talks about you all the time.
Who is he? Really, who is he?
I don't watch the show.
He has a show.
I don't watch the
never
show.
heard of him.
Yeah.
I guess he's just obsessed with me.
No. Next, Joy's gonna say she's never heard of carbs.
Imagine Joy Behar trying to keep her cool, but Greg Gutfeld just handed her a verbal beatdown so savage even her makeup's questioning its life choices. What happened? Did Joy really break down, or was it just her ego filing for bankruptcy live on air? Stick around, because this epic showdown is dripping with cringe, chaos, and comedy gold.
Her denial of knowing me is as believable as her red hair. But obsession? I mean, come on, Joy. Where would you even get that idea? Like Joy Behar's face, it's looking worse and worse by the day. More full of crap than Joy Behar after a night of scotch at Taco Bell. Her being named Joy is like me being named ugly. Joy wasn't there on the show. Apparently Mondays are her days off when she feeds in the pasture. It now smells like a humid day inside Joy Behar's moo-moo. The motives stink worse than Joy Behar's jog bra. I mean, assuming she jogs. Oh, wait, there she is. She has a point. Maybe I am obsessed, but some people are obsessed with Bigfoot, and they don't get to see him
Joy
on...
Behar has always been the queen of daytime TV sass, a master of the quick jab, the clever retort, and the theatrical eye roll that could silence a room full of toddlers throwing tantrums. She's been the sharp tongue behind the microphone for decades, wielding her opinions like a seasoned gladiator swinging a verbal trident. But even the fiercest warriors can have a bad day. And today was that day. The day Greg Gutfeld showed up and turned the spotlight into a blinding interrogation lamp that roasted Joy like last week's
Behar accused Elon Musk of being pro-apartheid, but then begged him afterwards not to sue. Musk lawyers have yet to comment because they're still checking to see if it's legal to sue a cow. Shots fired. It's a legal question. I don't know why it's so upsetting. I don't make the rules in
Let's talk about Greg Gutfeld for a second. The man is a walking, talking satire machine who can make a funeral feel like a stand-up comedy special. Greg's humor is dry enough to parch the Sahara, with a wit so sharp it could cut through steel. He's the kind of guy who doesn't just throw punches. He choreographs the whole fight scene, complete with one-liners that land harder than a piano falling on a cartoon.
It's become like a medical hospital that displays human misfailure. Like it's like here, let's look at this political oddity. You know, it's like it really is like the left-wing equivalent of a carnival sideshow, except instead of bearded ladies and fat clowns and two-headed cows. So let me rephrase that. But The View is a victim of the sunk cost fallacy. You know, how can you now speak the truth when for years you've been telling lies after lie after lie? Now you're carrying this big bag of rocks around you because it's too harmful for their ego to admit that we really were dishonest. And they could be honest. All they would have to say is, look, we hate Trump so much. We were willing to lie about Joe Biden because we felt he was preferable. We thought our lying and our cover-up was on your behalf. Just say that. You're still scum, but at least you're
Greg
scum.
sets his sights on someone. You don't just get embarrassed. You get verbally steamrolled with the precision of a surgeon and the cruelty of a toddler who's just been told no candy for a week. So picture this. Joy Behar, lounging comfortably in her daytime throne, thinking she's weathered every storm the media world can throw at her, suddenly finds herself under the kind of verbal assault usually reserved for reality TV showdowns or bad stand-up comedy.
The feral monsters of The View say they've never heard of you-know-who. True, the show that makes mornings hell claim that my name doesn't ring a bell. It's time for...
Our view on The View.
Yeah, the witch's coven finally shows me some lovin'. Yesterday on The View, yours truly was the subject of conversation. Apparently, the broads had no idea who I am, or so they
This
said.
was no casual jab or playful sparring. Greg Gutfeld wasn't there for a chit-chat. No, he came prepared with a full artillery barrage aimed at exposing every weak spot, every shaky argument, every misstep that Joy had unknowingly baked into her public persona. The entire episode felt like watching a slow-motion car crash with popcorn in hand. Greg started with what seemed like harmless observations, lightly poking fun at Joy's latest political hot takes and those inevitable on-air moments where passion overflowed into incoherence. But it quickly escalated into a demolition job. It wasn't just about disagreeing, it was about dismantling the entire foundation of Joy's on-screen bravado. It's almost impressive how Greg managed to turn Joy's trademark fiery rhetoric into a montage of contradictions so glaring they could be spotted from space. He didn't need to raise his voice or resort to cheap insults. His sarcasm was so exquisitely tailored, it felt like a bespoke suit of verbal armor piercing straight through Joy's defenses. And the beauty of it all? This wasn't a debate. No back and forth. This was a one-sided showcase of wit versus will, where Greg stood tall, and Joy? Well, she stumbled like a ballerina who suddenly forgot her choreography mid-performance. And yes, the infamous moment when humor didn't just poke, it went full nuclear on Joy Behar. The stage was set not with fireworks but with an eerily calm prelude, like a storm quietly gathering before it decided to unleash chaos. Greg Gutfeld, armed with a lethal cocktail of razor-sharp wit and unshakable logic, had been circling Joy's recent public remarks like a hawk sniffing out
Republican presidential candidate Tim Scott dropped by the Furry Five earlier today, and I thought the U.S. had a distinct policy against torture. He took the opportunity to call them out over crap Joy Behar recently said about him, specifically that he doesn't get systemic racism, which is like saying Brian Stelter doesn't get Ben & Jerry's. But Joy Behar gets racism after all. She's been black on Halloween. Yeah. But Joy wasn't there on the show. Apparently Mondays are her days off when she feeds in the pasture. But that is convenient, right? It's like one of my aunts dies every time Brian's going out.
Joy had tossed out some zingers and hot takes recently, nothing unusual for her, but Greg smelled blood in the water. Instead of a casual jab or playful nudge, Greg launched a blistering commentary that didn't just question Joy's stance, it methodically tore it to shreds. What made Greg's approach so deadly wasn't just the humor, it was the surgical precision behind it. He didn't flail around swinging wildly. Every word was calculated, every joke perfectly timed, and every logical point a hammer blow to first. It seemed like light banter, the kind of back-and-forth TV audiences eat up like popcorn. But then the tone shifted faster than you could say, awkward. What began as a seemingly casual roast evolved into a full-on humiliation spectacle. And then there was Joy. Usually she's the picture of quick wit and defiant comeback lines, armed with a quip for every occasion, a zinger at the ready to slice through any opposition. But this time, the wheels came off. Her usual repartee faltered, her defenses crumbled visibly, and the camera caught it all. For those who know her public persona, a fortress of sass and sass alone, seeing her visibly rattled was like spotting a unicorn sipping a latte in Starbucks. But this wasn't just a case of hurt feelings or bruised pride. No, Joy's reaction ran much deeper than a simple rebuttal gone awry. In the relentless media arena, public figures like her carry the weight.
Maker Johnsonville is recalling more than 42,000 pounds of pork sausage for possible contamination with plastic fibers. Fortunately, authorities were able to track all 42,000 pounds to a single location in New York City.
A rare and profound crack in that armor, a fleeting glimpse of the human beneath the persona. He resonated with viewers not just because of the embarrassment, but because it revealed the cost of living life in the unforgiving spotlight. The breakdown wasn't just an emotional reaction. It was a strategic vulnerability laid bare in a high-stakes media war. Joy's moment of faltering wasn't weakness. It was a subtle surrender in a battle where every word, every look, every pause is a move on the chessboard. For those paying attention, that breakdown told a story of exhaustion, pressure, and the brutal reality of fame's double-edged sword. It showed that even the sharpest tongues can get caught in a trap of their own making, especially when faced with a merciless adversary like Greg Gutfeld. This wasn't just a public humiliation. It was a rare humanizing moment wrapped in the chaos of televised combat. What happened next? Joy Behar's public persona, that well-crafted image of unshakable confidence, began to crack. The cameras caught something rare, an unmistakable falter, a flicker of vulnerability that normally hides behind layers of practiced smugness. There were no furious comebacks, no seething retorts, just silence. And if you watch closely, you could almost see the mental gears grinding, desperately searching for a lifeline. A rescue line thrown from the safety boat of a quick-witted repartee. But the line never came.
But who's the dumbest one of all? True, none of them are in Mensa, but who's the most densa? Perhaps it's Sonny who mastered the art of making idiots look smart. Now The View could ask a mirror who's the dumbest one of all, but there's no way that
Thing about being in the media spotlight, especially in a world where every word is dissected, every gesture analyzed, and every emotion amplified. You learn to build walls. Walls made of sarcasm, deflection, and sheer bravado. Joy's walls have been strong for years. She's built an empire on turning outrage into entertainment and personal attacks into ratings gold. But even the strongest walls have weak mortar, and Greg Gutfeld just found the one in hers. But this wasn't just a moment of personal embarrassment. No, it was a cultural event, the kind of public spectacle that sparks debates not just about who said what, but about the emotional toll of constant public scrutiny. Joy's breakdown wasn't about being politically incorrect or losing an argument. It was a glimpse into what happens when the relentless pressure to perform, to entertain, and to lead public opinion collides with an opponent who's laser-focused on exploiting every misstep. Social media exploded like a volcano the moment the clip hit the web. The usual factions sprang to life, some praising Greg's ruthless efficiency, others expressing sympathy for Joy's rare show of humanity. Memes flooded timelines, some featuring Greg dressed as a gladiator in verbal combat, others showing Joy as a cartoonish figure overwhelmed by a tidal wave of sarcasm. The internet had spoken, and the verdict was clear. Greg Gutfeld had delivered one of the most devastating public takedowns in recent memory, and Joy Behar had officially been humbled on a stage she thought
a lot, but that's only because they keep talking. Those hens are always clucking. They get to say stupid stuff for an hour every day, and then I get to say stupid stuff for an hour every day, except on purpose. But every now and then, one of those dingbats inadvertently says something that reveals modern liberal thought so perfectly, it deserves further study. You know, like a weird serpent that washed up on the beach and you want to poke it with a...
Why does this matter beyond the drama? Because it reveals the raw reality behind the glitz and glam of televised punditry. This isn't just about two media personalities clashing. It's about the exhausting, often brutal ecosystem that forces public figures to juggle authenticity with performative toughness. Joy's crack wasn't just a personal failure. It was a reminder that behind the makeup and scripted lines, these commentators are human, vulnerable to the same insecurities and pressures as the rest of us. Greg's takedown was a masterclass in media warfare. No unnecessary shouting, no cheap shots, just pure, distilled wit aimed with surgical precision, the kind of performance that gets dissected by media analysts for months, studied as an example of how humor can be weaponized without crossing the line into outright cruelty. And for Joy, it was a harsh lesson in humility, a momentary fall from grace that reminded everyone, even the most seasoned media veterans, aren't invincible. The aftermath. Where the dust settles, the keyboard warriors sharpen their claws, and every social media feed transforms into a battleground of hashtags, memes, and snarky takes. Greg Gutfeld's verbal knockout didn't just ruffle a few feathers, it unleashed a digital tsunami. The moment the clip hit the internet, it spread faster than a cat video with a
strategy on behalf of The View to pretend we don't exist when we know they know we exist.
That's a brilliant idea. I do it all the time.
Yeah.
Gutfeld. I'm sorry, not ringing the bell.
Usually at the airport.
Yeah, all the time. Yeah. Huh? Really? I sit next to him? Really? No, this is what elitists do who can't, like, if you don't know who someone is, how did you know to automatically hate him? Like, I mean, that's how fake and full of she is. Gutfeld, never heard of him. Don't like him. Why? Because why? That's why I just turned to one of my kids. Because why?
Yeah.
Because I don't know who he is. Never heard of him at all in my entire life. But why? Because I don't know. Because they are the last TV show to talk about high turnover. We've been rolling 3 steady for a long time.
Yeah.
We don't take breaks in the commercial to get away from each other. Well, that's what the drinking's for.
Yes.
The conversation quickly shifted from, did Joy Behar just falter, to, how far can humor go before it becomes humiliation? Suddenly, the fragile art of media civility was front and center. Was Greg's takedown clever wit or a little too savage for prime time? Some argued it was a masterclass in sharp commentary. Others saw it as a brutal display of the cutthroat nature of modern punditry, where empathy takes a back seat to the chase for viral glory. The polarized ideological crowd pounced, of course, some cheering Greg as a hero of no-nonsense truth, others rallying behind Joy as the embattled warrior who dared to show vulnerability in a merciless arena. Greg's performance became a viral phenomenon, endlessly dissected by late-night hosts, social media influencers, and casual observers alike. Every punchline was replayed, every sarcastic twist examined, turning that moment into a pop culture touchstone. The man's reputation skyrocketed, cementing his status as the pundit who can dismantle opponents with surgical precision while making you laugh until your coffee comes out your nose. T was the kind of public humiliation that, while painful for its target, becomes the stuff of legend.
Behar talking about refusing to share a kidney.
I find my friends with a Trump supporter. I won't give them a kidney, but I could be friends with them.
Hey, Joy, it's a kidney, not a pizza. Of course, she's kidding at first, but then she goes on to explain the moral foundation for her resentment, and it's the same one that drives all deadly ideology.
Poor Joy found herself navigating a maze of sympathy and scrutiny. Some corners of the internet expressed genuine concern, applauding her humanity and the rare crack in her armor. Others weren't so kind, seizing the moment to critique her career and question whether the once unflappable daytime diva had lost her touch. The spotlight intensified, shining on her professional trajectory with renewed interest, and not necessarily the flattering kind. Suddenly, every past slip-up, every hot take, every theatrical moment was dredged up like a greatest hits of moments that until now had been more charming than cringeworthy. This whole saga highlights a bigger picture about the precarious balancing act media personalities are forced to perform in today's polarized and pressure cooker environment. Every word is weaponized, every reaction magnified, and every flaw exploited. Public figures live under a microscope, constantly juggling the need to be confident and commanding with the very real risk of being exposed as vulnerable, flawed, or, heaven forbid, human. And let's be honest, this isn't just daytime TV drama. It's a symptom of the wider cultural climate where entertainment, ideology, and personal attack blur into one messy stew. Why does this matter? Because this moment is more than just a feud between two personalities. It's a snapshot of modern media culture, where the line between humor and cruelty is razor thin and the stakes are impossibly high. T forces us to ask, how much toughness can anyone really sustain before the performance cracks? How honest can public figures afford to be without risking everything? And as viewers, how much do we want to see that tension play out in real time, served with a side of biting sarcasm? The Joy Behar versus Greg Gutfeld showdown isn't just a passing spectacle, it's a cautionary tale wrapped in comedy, a reminder that behind every zinger is a real person balancing pride and vulnerability. Though as the saga continues, one can only wonder, who will strike next, and who will survive the next round of this televised gladiator fight where words are weapons and nothing is off limits? One thing's for sure, this is far from over, and the next episode promises even more drama, more laughs, and inevitably, more public breakdowns. Looking forward, this showdown sets the stage for an even more intense media landscape. The boundaries of humor, criticism, and public persona are constantly shifting, and moments like this highlight just how high the stakes are. Whether Joy Behar rises from this moment stronger and sharper or retreats to regroup remains to be seen. But one thing's for sure, Greg Gutfeld just raised the bar for televised takedowns, and the media world will be buzzing about this episode for a long time. Oh, while Joy might be licking her wounds behind the scenes, the rest of us are left with a front row seat to one of the most entertaining, savage, and downright hilarious humiliations in recent media history. And honestly,